Good afternoon, gentlemen. Welcome to the live stream. It is a beautiful winter snowy day in the afternoon. We have a fire going, and well, you know what time it is. Nothing but the best production. This is the time of year where we get our boots ready for winter or deal with all of the leather. Every man should have a few leather items. You should wear good leather shoes. If you buy quality, spend your money on good shoes and take care of them. They will last you the rest of your life. Some guys say, why would you ever go and buy $400, $500, $600, $800 custom-made boots? That doesn't make any sense. I can go to Walmart and I can get boots for $119. Well, yes, it is. You either pay up front or you pay on the back end. And when you buy quality, it's cheaper in the long run because they last longer. I have boots, I have shoes that I have had for over 20 years that are still just as good, actually even better than they were the day I bought them. So today, we're going to go over, I'll be taking care of all my leather. It's a custom. I remember doing this with my grandfather about this time of year every year, right when the rain was coming, right when it was get wintry. I used to go over there and he would put newspapers out on the kitchen table, and we would get the saddle soap out, and he would go over all of his leather gloves and his holsters, his belts, his shoes, and it was a wonderful, wonderful thing, wonderful experience. Right before elk hunting season, because back then he was always worried about getting cold feet and wet feet, so we'd have our hunting boots. He would buy quality boots. He would wear, I think he used to like to wear Red Wings and Chippewas back when Red Wings were really nice boots. And he would put the oil on them. When I was a boy, I would get a new pair of boots every year. I started hunting with him when I was 12 because I was growing so quickly, so I'd have to get a new pair every year. And I would wear my Timberlands. So I guess we'll do this together. I thought you might enjoy it. We can hang out. I'll go over the essentials that every man should have for his leather care kit. Now, I'm not grifting. I'm not selling anything. I don't care. I'm doing this regardless if you watch or not. I think it might be helpful. So I've got my belts. I've got my shoes. We can talk about fashion. We can talk about what are the essential leather items every man should have, what you should look at in shoes, boots. How about we go over a kit? If you don't know this, if your father didn't teach you this, one of the most important things you can do is to take care of your shoes. It says a lot about who you are, your character. You can read a lot into what a guy has on his feet. If you look down to the guy's feet and his shoes are all scuffed, not taken care of, low quality, and I'm not saying that you have to be rich and to go buy expensive, the most expensive shoes in the world. What I am saying is that the shoes you do have, you want to take care of them. It says a lot about you. I've made this statement before. I've heard it from other guys. If I was on a wildland fire and I was like a squad boss or a division supervisor, and I was wanting to know all my new recruits, all my young men, what type of guys that they were, you know how I would tell that? What I would do is I would have them all line up, and the first thing I would do is I would take a look at their feet. What are they wearing? How is it taken care of? Are they greased? Are they looked after? You can tell a lot about a man by how he takes care of his shoes, what he does on his feet. So I think it's important. I think it's very important. And I think that the wise man invests good money in footwear. Not only are you getting a better quality boot or a shoe that's going to last you for a long, long time, that can be rebuilt, that can be resold, you are putting your money into craftsmanship. The money that you spend on a custom boot or a custom shoe you're paying an American man or woman who is a craftsman. And you're not paying slave labor in China that's just making glued together garbage that's just made to fail. The other aspect of it is you get to be in them. You get to live in those boots that are designed for you, that don't hurt your back, that support your body, that support your arch and your heel. It is, if you haven't had them, and if you've only worn cheap Walmart boots, it's hard to understand, but it's unlike anything else. What should be in your leather kit? Well, this is my shoe bag here. This is going to have everything, well, a leather kit. It's going to have everything that I would need to look after my holsters, belts, shoes. Also, polishing equipment, stuff for if you go to church or want to have, if you've got dress shoes or things like that, you want to keep them looking nice. Yes, very good. Very, very observant of you. Who was that? I can barely see here. Garen is commenting on my bag. Yeah, this is made by John, SOE Gear. My friend Mr. Evan gave this to me. But yeah, the very best bags in the world. So the foundation of your kit's going to be horsehair brush. You want to have a horsehair brush, maybe a couple of them. Horsehair brush, nothing like a horsehair brush to put the shine on your leather. So I always have a horsehair brush. You're going to have some cleaner. What I use for cleaner is either Obanoff's. This is all made in Idaho. Obanoff's cleaner. If you have, before you put protectant on and before you put all that stuff on there, you want to make sure you get all of the sweat. If you wear your leather, you've seen like the white salt stains come through your shoes. If you have dirt or grime or grease on it, you don't want to put your protectant on until you strip all that off of there. You want to clear that off there. And I'm in the chat here, so if you have any questions or comments as we're going along, go ahead and just chime in. And I'll, if I miss your comment, just be persistent. They roll by there, and sometimes I miss them. As far as cleaning, I use the Obanoff's leather cleaner. This is something you can probably find. Maybe you have it in your house. Saddle soap. Saddle soap is also an excellent cleaner. It is a cleaner and a nourisher, and it is a delightful color. Isn't that a beautiful yellow color? Man, every time I open that color just is so stunning. I might take that. That might have to be our signature Proho color there. I might take that to my paint store and have them match that. Maybe we'll use this for all of our stenciling in the future, but that's nice. So saddle soap is good. We'll be using that today. Obanoff's HD, the classic, of course. This was made for wildland firefighting. Michael says, do you have any suggestions for dexterous winter work gloves? Yeah, Tilly gloves are pretty good. If you want dexterous, if I have to have good good dexterity like that, I prefer goat skin. Goat skin or deer skin is really nice. Deer skin is actually quite expensive. If you go online, you can go on Amazon and you can search Tillman, Tillman. I forget the model number, but just search Tillman goat skin gloves. And goat skin is thinner. It's really, really nice, and it wears good too. So if you have to do work, you want something that you can kind of still use your fingers, go with goat skin. It's excellent. Scouting Wood says, hey, Cody, how do you take care of your IH, Ironheart? A detailed video would be helpful. Expensive clothes. So yeah, I Ironheart Japanese denim. So I hand wash everything. So what I do is you're gonna want to use a very high-end laundry detergent. What I recommend is a company out of Sweden called Norwex, Norwex. Norwex makes the finest laundry detergent in the world. I don't care what anyone says. And the nice thing about it is it's completely scent-free. I cannot abide any sort of, in my clothing, a synthetic scent. Cheap laundry detergent like your Tide and Bounty and all that stuff you probably grew up with, to have that smell on my clothing is offensive to me. I cannot stand it. So if you want the best, if you're going to invest in quality handmade clothing, you're going to invest in Ironheart, you want to get good soap. So go with that and wash everything in cold. So this, for example, this is a Wabash Ironheart CPO shirt. I have not washed this yet. When you get Ironheart denim, what you want to do is you want to wear it as long as possible before you wash it. You do not need to wash your clothing every time you wear it, not even close. I have clothing, I have some items, not all. I have, my Ironheart kind of separates into two. I have the stuff that I wear for work daily. Obviously, that stuff needs to be washed more often. My overalls that I wear, I'll wash those depending on the environment, but probably once every 2 weeks or so. My things that I wear for good, I keep that I only wear maybe on weekends and I'm not in a dirty environment. Some of those things I'll wash once a year. What I'll typically do rather than wash is I have a garment brush. That's the best thing you can do. Search online and buy yourself a garment brush. Most of the stuff that you can do, you can brush it. That's the way things were done back in the day. It doesn't put a lot of wear and tear on your clothing, and it doesn't washing, with the deep, rich indigos in the Ironheart stuff. You want to leave it in there. When you wash it, that washes out. So wear it as long as possible. You want all of that fading and all those creases and everything to set in. And then when you do wash it, fill up your bathtub or some sort of a big basin that you have, 5-gallon bucket, cold water, only cold, turn it inside out, and then use the Norwex. So what I do is I'll put the Norwex, it's granular, I'll pour it in there. I'll put the clothing, I have a big deep tub, you can use your bathtub, and let it soak in there for about 15 minutes or so. Hand agitate it, wash it with your hands best as possible, just swish it around, let it sit in. I'll let it sit in there for about an hour. And then I pull it out, I run a fresh tub of water, drain the soap and the dirt and all that stuff, run a fresh tub, fill it up again of fresh water, put it in again, rinse it, about 15 minutes, let it sit in there, rinse it back and forth, and then hang it to dry outside. That's how you wash it. That's the best way. Also, what should be in the dogs are doing well. We do not have General Sam anymore. We rehomed him. He actually belongs to our neighbors now. Having two big dogs like that was too much for us, and they were really suffering from puppy syndrome. We wanted the dogs to bond more with the family, and so it just so happened our neighbor happened to be looking for a pup and saw General Sam and fell in love, and he's other side of the river over there. So they actually, him and Miss May are able to get together at a dog party that they do at the school once a month. But they're doing well. Miss May is now an inside dog, so she's very happy about that. So when it comes to cleaning your leather, these are the two things, your saddle soap and anything like that. Saddle soap is a good standby. It's going to be available pretty much anywhere. And then the Obanoffs. Now when it comes to protectant, I primarily use, this is Obanoff's HD. This is an all-natural product. This was developed for wildland firefighting. It's got beeswax in it. And you can use it for even for lip balm. It's that safe. And it's a thick paste, and it really lasts a long time. So if you're trying to treat your work boots, you want something that's going to last so you don't have to do it every day, this is your Huckleberry right here. Be careful. If you have suede or if you have dress shoes, this is going to darken them. It won't hurt them at all. But even leather belts, if you have a leather belt, like this belt here, I treat with Obanoffs, it's pretty dark. It was lighter when I bought it, but I don't mind. And so just know that. It will darken it. Suggestions for boots. The best boots that you can buy are going to be made on the West Coast, in my opinion, in either Oregon or Washington. You're going to look for Westco. You're going to look for Nicks, JKs, or Whites. Those are the ones that come to mind. Those are, if you want the very best of the best, those are the companies that I recommend. That's what I wear. Clothing, Filson. No, Filson's not what it used to be. We got more saddle soap in here. I don't know why I have two of those in here. Couple of horsehair brushes. These are what the horsehair brushes look like. We've got, these are applicators. I suggest you have 3 of these guys for your boots. Goodness, that's not focusing very well, is it? I think the SOE bag's tripping it out. These are pretty nice. Growing up, my dad never used these. We always just use like an old rag or something. But these applicators are nice. I have 3 of them. One for black polish, one for brown polish, and one for neutral. We have a super chat coming in. Goodness. The first super chat of the day, not David, but Christ. Shout out to you. Thank you for your generosity. Not David, but Christ says, Been worried about you for a long time now, about your faith and doctrine. There's no easy way to put it without sounding offensive. I really do consider you a friend and care, but how do I tell you? Well, you tell me in private. You send a private message. Scripture tells us, it gives us instruction. If you have something against your brother, let's say you have a brother in Christ, a fellow believer, and he's on the wrong path. Unfortunately, what most people like to do is to come online publicly or in the comment section and publicly reproach someone, which is just contrary to the teachings of the Word. If you have something against your brother, go to him privately. Hopefully, you can have a respectful conversation and come to some sort of agreement. Any so-called Christian that comes in the comment and calls someone out publicly on their doctrine is, that's not the way to do it. Not the way to do it. I don't know. None of us are perfect. None of us are above correction. But I want you to know that Phariseeism is alive and well in the modern day church. Here's the bottom line. I don't know what you're doing or what anyone else is doing. All I know is I do a daily Bible study and I teach the best that I can to the warband. I may not be right, but I'm not lying. We're all learning together. And to completely miss that and get hung up on your particular hobby horse or particular doctrine that you think I'm in error in is kind of missing the forest for the trees. The Christians, the so-called Christians that get bogged down in doctrine and legalism and can't see the big picture, the overall good, the spreading of the gospel and getting the message to millions of people and get hung up on a particular doctrine and feel the need to contact me and get me sorted out on my core beliefs and what I should be doing and what I should be teaching. There's a scripture for that as well. Before you look to remove the speck in my eye, maybe you need to get the plank out of your own eye. Start your own ministry. Start your own YouTube channel. Start your own Bible study. Get up every morning. Do it. Do the work. Spread the gospel. And worry less about what it is that I got going on. That's the advice that I would give you. So these applicators are pretty nice. I got 3 of those for the individual colors. I have some water shield for oilskin fabric. So if you have something that you don't want to stain, maybe some suede, this is maybe more of an oilskin. Is this a silicone base? I'm not sure. I rarely use that. I don't have too many things like that. And then of course, extra laces, leather laces are the best. And then an assortment of your shoe polishes. So if you have brown, get brown, black, and neutral. Those are the 3 that you want. That'll pretty much cover everything you have. If you have a pair of shoes that are a light color that you don't want to stain or to get dark, yeah, you can go with the neutral. If that doesn't work for you, just go with the brown. But that's pretty much what should be inside every man's leather shoe care kit. So let's start. Should we start with the belt? As I said, I'm doing this regardless of the live stream, so I thought, well, I'm doing it here on my table. We might as well hang out, and you get to enjoy my fire. How's that? Pharisees. Modern-day Christian Pharisees. I have a tier list of what I consider to be the worst and most insufferable and hateful people in the world. On that list, the first thing that comes to mind is boomer ham radio operator, arborists. Nothing else comes to mind, right? They'll come to mind. I'll share as they come to mind. Colt wants to know how to come and well, you can't come and hang out. This is what I can offer. All right, let's talk about belts. Synthetic belts, leather belts. Which one? What's the best way to go? To be honest with you, I love both. I love both. I go back and forth. I'm almost 50. Actually, I think that a leather belt, a good high quality bridal leather belt, is about the top of the line, about as good as it gets. Leather is more comfortable than any sort of synthetic belt because it gets a memory and it bends. Yes, arborists. Arborists are terrible. They're insufferable. Arborists, I think, what it is with arborists is they seem to have, it, you know, they seem to be too big for their britches. They almost, have you ever been around surgeons? They even call themselves, get this, I've known arborists to call themselves tree surgeons. Now, that's a bit of a stretch. I don't know if grafting or chainsawing branches off of trees and picking up sticks off the ground and throwing them in the wood chipper, I don't know that constitute you having an attitude or being a surgeon. I mean, I don't know. That seems to be a bit of a stretch to me. And I think what it is they have a chip on their shoulder because they're envious of real loggers. They use chainsaws, and so they think they're hyper masculine and tougher than everyone else. But the fact that they're not real loggers, then they're always a little bit self-conscious about that, and so they overcompensate by thinking themselves to be too big for their britches. Now, of course, all this is tongue-in-cheek. We love our arborists, don't we? But they are funny that way. But I think a leather belt is the way to go. I think that there are two leather belts that you should have. You should have a brown leather belt with brass. There is no substitute. Don't go with gaudy, trendy buckles. Go with classics. This is something, if you buy quality, like this beautiful Ironheart solid brass belt, leather bridle belt, my goodness, it's absolutely gorgeous, isn't it? This is a belt. This is the last belt you'll buy. Buy once, cry once. And you need two. You need one brown and you need one black. If these are the only two belts that you had, gentlemen, you would be in good shape. That really is all you need. Now, synthetic belts, they have a place too. I like them. Lord knows I like to wear rigging belts and wildland firefighting belts. They're very nice as well, and a lot of utility to that. Sometimes leather is not rigid enough for what it is that you might want, primarily concealed carry for some people. I know they like to have a super rigid belt, but I'm just not a fan of synthetics. Synthetics on me, I don't like touching them. I don't like things made out of oil and plastic. I like things that are natural. If I'm wearing it, it's either cotton, wool, leather, or linen. Now, I'll wear technical outerwear. I'm certainly not Sir Edmund Hillary. I'm not going up snowboarding or snowbiking wearing wool and leather. I'm going to be wearing latest technology Gore-Tex materials, of course. But that will be worn as a shell. What will be touching my body and what will be against my skin is going to be a natural fiber for many reasons that I don't have time to get into. Mr. Not David but Christ is coming in, and he says, agreed, but you're unreachable now. It's me, Gamer Dave, by the way. I tried emailing you also, the deep miner. It's not to criticize, but to save a friend from walking in front of the UPS van. I love you, brother. Well, I appreciate that. I don't know. I don't know what your beef is. I don't know what your gripe is. I know my Bible. I study it regularly. I don't believe what I say is an error. So if you're a Catholic, if you're a Jehovah's Witness, if you're one of our Mormon friends, you're obviously going to have a completely different doctrine. You do and act according to the Holy Spirit, and I will do the same. But at this point, in the maturity of my understanding, the maturity of my study of Scripture, I don't know that I need to be publicly corrected by someone that I don't know. So I'm not above correction. I will be the first one to admit if I'm in error. As my friend Mr. Owen Benjamin likes to say, I may not be right, but I'm not lying. And that's what I'll hang my hat on. Elliot says, did you see the Crafted with Pride list of American-made clothing? No, I don't know. I've never heard of this. No, I never have. So here's the deal with, I think I like the leather belts because if you buy a quality belt like these two, one in black, one in brown, this pretty much covers anything you're going to wear, and they look good, and there's nothing more comfortable than a leather belt. They really are the gold standard because, you take these belts, if you've had leather belts, and, they develop, kind of a shape to them. Where you bend, you can see it's no longer straight there. That shapes to your body, how you move, how you're built. And I find them to be much more comfortable. Synthetic doesn't do that near as much, but there's a place for both. But I have to say, when you see me, I'm usually probably 75 to 80% of the time, I'm going to be in a leather belt. We have a super chat, not David but Christ, SDA. Well, I was involved in the Seventh-day Adventist Church for a long time. I know all of the doctrines. I've read everything that Ellen White has written, or all things of importance, and I've spent a decade in that church. I'm very familiar with it. And I also know that there are doctrinal errors, that there is no perfect church. And I've been around a lot of Adventists that have made an idol of vegetarianism. They won't admit it outright, but I have experienced it, I have seen it, where there's many people in the Seventh-day Adventist Church that would say that being a vegetarianism is a salvation issue. And that's just not the case whatsoever. I know their doctrines. I know the book. I know it as well as you do. And I have investigated it myself, and I've come to the conclusions that I've come to. It's not out of ignorance. It's out of choice. I've got no beef with the Seventh-day Adventist Church. I'm actually eternally indebted to it, because the Seventh-day Adventists are known as people of the book. And what that means is, if you go to a Seventh-day Adventist Bible study, a Sabbath study, you are going to get some good teaching. They do know the Bible, forward and backward, backward and forward. They really do. They have a prophet, like many organized religions do, that their prophet, Ellen White, has been a prolific writer, supplemental works, in according to deeper explanation of the Bible. Now, would I put that on the same level, the same standard as the 66? I would not. Not all Adventists do, but some do. So I'm not going to get into a religious argument or discussion. There's just no fruit. There's no benefit to it. We have brothers that are thirsting, dying, and starving for the truth, starving for the gospel. I'm giving it to them the best I can in my morning and daily Bible studies. So we can go round and round about doctrinal issues and Phariseeism and legalism, and you didn't say this right, or you misrepresented this. How is anyone being helped by that? How about we throw our brothers a life raft in ways that they can understand? How about we don't put too much upon them that they more than they can take? If you want to if you're mature in the Bible, if you've spent a lifetime in it, you've studied prophecy, you know it forward and backward, yeah, go with your brothers and argue these doctrinal issues till the cows come home. But it does not benefit those that are lost and don't know and weren't raised in all of this. It doesn't benefit them, you and I squabbling about doctrinal issues. That's the purpose. That's a classic thing with organized religion and Adventists in particular, is they get hung up on, you said something wrong, or I take issue with one thing you said, completely losing the sight that there are people that are being saved in our Bible study. There are people that are getting baptized and having their lives changed in our Bible study, but you have an axe to grind over a particular doctrine. That, my brother, is what we call Phariseeism. And Phariseeism is alive and well in the Adventist Church. I saw it. I was there for a decade. Enough. We're talking about leather. This is going to be a lighthearted hangout session. We're here sitting by the fire watching it snow. We're not going to get dragged down by Pharisees. Like it's his personal mission to sort me out. I'll tell you what, if it's you that's been sent by God to come sort me out and to get me corrected on doctrine, as soon as he lets me know, I will reach out to you. How's that? Goodness, legalist and Phariseeism. All right, so one more thing before we start. So here's a hard and fast rule. As a rule of thumb, when you are dressing yourself, when you're putting outfits together, one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to wear a black belt with brown shoes. So just kind of remember that. There's not a lot to it. If you're going to wear a black belt, pair it with black shoes. If you're going to wear a brown belt, pair it with brown shoes or brown boots. If you stick to that, gentlemen, you'll be in good shape. And you can be wearing some not the nicest clothes. They don't even have to be pressed or the best kept, but I'll tell you, if you show up to whatever it is you're doing and your shoes are on point, polished, neat, high quality, you know, you can get away with a lot. Have you ever seen like an old Chevelle or a Camaro or a Mustang that was primered and maybe a work in progress? It wasn't all ready for you know, SEMA, but it had some really nice wheels on it. Had a nice set of brand new shiny Kragers and some BFG tires on it, and they were all had, you know, shiny and taken care of, and the white letters out and looking good. How nice that car looks, even if it's just a primered old, just hoopty. Wheels and tires go a long ways. The same thing is true with your shoes. So make sure that they are looking nice and skookum. Goodness. Cigar Gear Company. Speaking of cigars, is that cigar? Cigarro. Who knows? My public school education rears its ugly head. He says, why try to bridge our gap? Why try to bridge the gap of leather versus synthetic belts with our emissary belt? We try. Oh, goodness. Read. Let me start over. Cigar Gear Company coming in with a $50 super chat. We're going to take it from the top. We try to bridge the gap of leather versus synthetic belts with the emissary belt. Okay, so I'm guessing you guys have a belt. Throw up a link there. Let the warband take a look at it. It's a nylon belt that will form to your waist like leather dress and still be stiff enough to hold up gear. Solid brass hardware and handmade in Tennessee. Well, that sounds like something right up my alley. Now, if you want to send one out, if it's really good and it's made in the U.S. and I like it, I may do a video, throw you guys a bone. I'm not going to promise it. I'm not asking for it. If you want to do it, you can run the risk if it's worth it to you. So you can get with me and I'll take a look at it. But that's true. I do run into that sometimes where I have a leather belt on and I want to throw on a holster. To be honest with you, I have not found that a good leather belt doesn't offer enough support for concealed carry. I've not found that to be truth at all. I know that that's the dogma, and all of the gun guys like to say that, but you got to be realistic. You got to live a daily life. It's a hard thing to wear a concealed carry holster. It's a hard thing to carry a big gun around all day, and sometimes you can just get too much. The belt's too stiff, and if the belt's too stiff, and yeah, you got good support, and if you were on the range, you could be the fastest draw in the West. But what good is it if the thing's so darn uncomfortable that you're leaving it at home? So we got to be realistic. We live in the real world, and life is about compromise. The way I look at it is, if you have a good belt, whether it's leather or synthetic, it'll get the job done. It'll get the job done. But thank you for that. Very generous of you. And I'm happy to see guys producing good stuff in the States and getting manufacturing going again. I support that. I support that a lot. Bobby says, what will happen if you wear a brown belt with black shoes? Nothing's going to happen, but anyone who knows anything is going to judge you. Because no one in their right mind would intentionally do that. Yeah, throw up the link. Yeah, chicks dig it. Shoes are one of the things that, if you are a young man, if you are unfortunate enough to have to be out in the dating market and are trying to attract a white Western woman, women are very much aware of that. Not only that, women, they look at things like that. Personal hygiene is very important to them. How you take care of yourself, the quality of items. Many of them are gold diggers, right or wrong, but they're also, I also understand it. You take a woman that is going to put herself at risk by marrying a man, especially if she's going to want to have kids and she puts herself under his protection, there's a bit of a risk there. So I understand women wanting to make the best choice to getting the best possible mate that you could. We all want to do that. You got $5,000 to go buy a dirt bike. Are you just going to go buy the very first one that comes up on Facebook Marketplace? Or are you going to be discerning? Are you going to check it out. You're going to look and see. You're going to do your due diligence so that you can get the best possible bike for the money. You're going to reject many before you find the one you want. So it's only natural. I mean, I know we're hard on them, but if you were a woman, you would do the same thing. Well, of course, Jonathan, can't you see the snow out the beautiful leaded glass windows? It's absolutely beautiful today. I might even go for a ski here soon. Green Wilson says black shoes are for Elvis impersonators. No, that's not true. That's not true. Say you don't know anything about anything without saying you don't know anything. No, you should have both. You should have both. You should have black and brown. So I thought we were going to get all these shoes polished. We're going to be lucky to get one belt cleaned and taken care of here. Also, just as a side note, if you're going to buy good quality shoes, like these beautiful Nicks Oxfords here, these shoes right here, if you were to invest in these, you would have these the rest of your life, completely rebuildable. Beautiful, beautiful shoes. If you do invest in shoes like this, make sure you keep shoe trees. This is a cedar shoe tree. And it does a couple things. A good shoe tree will be made out of cedar, and cedar is antibacterial. And it will keep, it keeps odor and different things away. And they're designed, they have springs on them, so they're designed to be kind of universal. There's a left and a right. And you put this in your shoe, and then you wedge this in, and what it does is it keeps constant pressure on the toe box of the shoe. Do you see how it's made? So as the spring, when you put it, as the spring pushes, it keeps constant force against the leather. And what that does in a nice shoe like this Oxford here, you put your shoe tree in, especially shoes that you don't wear very often, like your dress shoes and such, and you press that tight. And what that does is this shoe is many years old. I've worn this a lot, but you'll see right here how this area here will crease and crack, and it will get more pronounced, and it starts to really age the shoe and date it, and it'll eventually destroy the shoe. The shoe tree helps it to keep its shape, and by constantly that spring pressure constantly pressing in there, it straightens that out. And there's no getting around it. You know, when you kneel down and when you flex the shoe, you're going to get that right there. But that, if left without a shoe tree in it, that will get worse and worse and worse and eventually crack. So always use shoe trees in your nicer shoes like that. Yeah, Battle Chemist says cedar oil is a natural bug repellent as well. I don't know. I don't often have bugs in my shoes. But maybe that's why. Who knows? Who knows? Bobby says invest in gold instead of shoes. Well, you get the gold by wearing the good shoes. You show up for a job interview, promotion. Again, as I said, if I'm running a wildland fire, who's the guy that I'm going to entrust to be my number one? If all things are equal, if I've got 12 guys to pick from, who am I going to give a promotion to? Who am I going to give additional responsibility to? Who's going to be the first in the top of my list? It's going to be the guy that's got the good boots on. Like if he cares enough to take care of his feet, if he cares enough and is intentional enough to look after and provide for his boots and wear quality boots, then that tells me about his character. So you get the gold by getting the advancement, the job. And you get so I mean, you can't, what you're suggesting here is putting the cart ahead of the horse. You dig? Why is it called a shoe tree? I do not know. Man, I don't know about that. All right, so this is my favorite belt. Let's start with this one. This is a beautiful bridal leather Ironheart belt. Japanese leather, Japanese tan leather is the finest. Absolutely the finest. Now this is a belt that I wear pretty much on the daily. And so I've worn it all summer. You can see here that it's pretty dirty. It's got scuff marks in it. These scuff marks are going to be from clipping knives on, clipping tape measures on. You can see my weight loss journey. Boom, boom. It's a record. Excuse me, it's a record of my of my weight loss. So what I'll do is we're going to start by cleaning this. I'm going to use my some Obenauf's cleaner. And I love blue shop towels. Yeah, exactly. If you put energy and you take care of your shoes, then you'll take care of and have pride of your job. Exactly. You know, and that's the thing that it tells me is that the guy that takes care of his shoes, you know, you show up and you're just a slob. I'm going to look at your car. I'm going to look at your personal grooming. I'm going to look at a lot of things. I can tell a lot from that. And they don't have to be expensive. I'm not saying that, oh, you got to roll up in Gucci slides. That would actually have the opposite effect. What I'm saying is what you have that it's taken care of and you show you have respect for it. You got Burger King, Taco Bell all over your dash, or is your car neat and tidy in good order? It doesn't matter if it's old. Actually, if it's old and well taken care of, that's even better than a guy showing up in a brand new truck. Not David, but Christ is coming in. Sorry, Cody, I'll leave it to you. And God, as I can't convey very well at all. I did not want to or aim to piss you off at all. I'm not pissed off. I just, I'm not a child in this. I know, and I've read everything that you've read, and I've come to my own conclusions. I have my own mind. I'm not a robot of the Seventh-day Adventist Church or the dogmas from family, generational, whatever. I came into the church. I spent a decade there. I read all the books. I met the people. I have nothing negative to say about the Adventist Church. It was a great benefit to me. But I don't need you at this time coming here publicly to try to straighten me out on doctrine. I'm not a child. I know the Bible. I know prophecy. I teach it daily. So, I'll tell you this. There's not any one of us that has monopoly on the truth or complete understanding of Scripture, because not all of it is for us to understand. Paul says we now see through the glass dimly. God, when he sees fit, will reveal to his people, to the remnant, his truths. And it's happening on the daily. So don't come in here and think that you have the monopoly on the truth, and you alone are the chosen people, and you know all things, and you were sent here by God to come and correct me publicly here in front of these good men, because that's not the case. If you want to have a debate and you want to get in and you would like me to, I could easily come here and embarrass you and point out many fallacies in the Seventh-day Adventist doctrine, but I'm not going to do that publicly. I'm not a person that could be bullied. I understand it and I know it. I had the arguments with some of the best and the brightest that the Adventist Church had to offer. I can go in and point out right now off the dome, many doctrinal errors of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. So you don't see me coming over to your house, straightening you out. That's not my job. That's between you and the Holy Spirit. God has many people in many different areas. There's not one man that has the truth. And that's the problem with many of these Adventists. They think that they and they alone have all of the truth and hold the oracles of God. And that is not the case. God has his people everywhere. This is the problem, gentlemen, with organized religions. This is the problem with dogma and tradition. Right here in front of you, you're experiencing it. No, I'm not going to make this members only. This is a public live stream. Overton is given the stamp of approval on the belts. Well, that carries a lot of weight with me. Andrew Wilson. I like Andrew Wilson. Mink oil. No, I wouldn't say mink oil's fallen out of favor. I keep mink oil in my kit. Mostly, I don't use it very often because I use Obenauf's, but I've got nothing wrong with it. I should have some in here. I do keep it. I am fond of mink oil because my grandfather used it, and it's a good memory of mine. Did I get rid? Yeah, here we go. Mink oil is an excellent product. I would say this here is mink oil. We can have a look here. For all colors, waterproof, smooth leather. It's an excellent product. Natural there. Yeah, I would say, whether you're using this, Obenauf's is near and dear to my heart because it works good. If I couldn't use it, I would use mink oil, or it's just as good. But you can see, if we take, we can kind of compare the two. A lot of old timers love mink oil, but you'll see the similarities here, right? Both of them are natural. There's no, no dryers or synthetics or anything gross in there. There's nothing that's going to harm you or your skin. You have to remember, gentlemen, whatever it is you're putting on your feet, on your boots, just make sure it's natural. Because if you are, we know that silicone is probably not super good for you. Silicone in liquid form is used on a lot of sporting garments and stuff. There's actually, I saw a study of a guy that was, he took like a lot of the modern day, like really technical parkas like Arc'teryx, North Face, Patagonia, all the big brands, the really high end ones, and like an Alpha jacket, and he put it in a tank, kind of a water shower, and then collected the water that came off of it and then had it analyzed. And it was incredible how much of those super, super toxic industrial waterproof chemicals came off of that and was in the water. So what that tells us is that if you've done mountaineering and technical skiing and stuff, you sweat in those things. And when you heat something, it causes it to come out even more. So what that tells us is if you're wearing those technical garments, that the stuff that they're using to treat it is going directly into your body. Your skin is your largest organ, and you absorb all of that stuff through your skin. So I know, it's impossible in the world that we live in to stay away from all that stuff. But if we can minimize it, just think, if you're wearing, like I wear leather shoes. If you're wearing leather shoes and you're in them 24/7 or 365 days a week, summer, winter, do you not think that whatever it is you're putting on here is going directly into your body? Of course it is. Leather is skin. So if you can put mink oil on, if you can put Obenauf's on, which is 100% natural, I know it's a good idea. So I got no beef with mink oil. I think it's an excellent product. That was what my granddad used to use. We have a super chat from Cast Iron Evangelist 8291. Shout out to you. Thank you. Cast Iron says this: Cody, thank you for everything that you do. The Grand Forest Brook Small Forest Axe factory handle has a hidden feature. Oh, do tell. I did not know this. From the bottom to the pole of the center of the lanyard hole is 16 inches. Perfect for firewood. Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that's funny because I, on my Grand Forest Brooks, I think I put a hash mark. I cut a little notch in it, I think at 12 inches, just to have as a general for measuring things. But I did not know that. That's good to know. Did not know that. All right. Let us proceed, gentlemen. All right, so we have this fine leather belt here, but very dirty from all summer of use being outside, so we're going to clean it. Take your shop towel. This is a great cleaner. Saddle soap will work also. Saddle soap has a little bit more left behind stuff. It's a little more waxy, where this doesn't do that so much. But let's see how dirty this is. This is designed for cleaning leather. Yeah, look at that. All summer sweating, being outside. Goodness, it's satisfying. Taking care of leather, is it not? One of the pleasures of life. Yeah, echo chambers are dangerous. We went deep into this morning. Every morning, well, Monday through Friday, for our members, we do a Bible study. We do a live stream, and we were talking we're talking about that a lot today, about how easy it is to get into an echo chamber, and once you do that, how difficult it is to see your neighbor's point of view. And the same thing happens in organized religions. It happens a lot in organized religions. We have a super chat from Colors 101. Shout out to you. Thank you for your generosity. We sure do appreciate that. And he says, hello from Switzerland. Goodness, how I would love to go to Switzerland. Mrs. W and I were having a discussion this morning over breakfast, and we had Jacoby coming home for Christmas, and we had some time, and she was saying, should we do a vacation? And one of the things that we considered doing was going to Switzerland, and we always had the dream of doing the hiking they have hiking from where you go hut to hut. So through the beautiful mountains, you hike some of the most gorgeous places in the entire world, and each day's hike ends at a small, like their version of an Airbnb, where you get a nice meal and you can spend the night, get refreshed, and then go on and you go hike from hut to hut to hut. And that's one of the things that we'd like to do. And I know that that's something that's pretty popular in Switzerland, or at least I've heard that. Color says, just wanted to say hello. Love your craft and your show, not just this live stream. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. And thank you for your generosity. And shout out to Switzerland. I hope to be there someday. I've been to Germany, but I've never been to Switzerland. Jordan Peterson is a fraud and a charlatan. That's what I think. And has been completely discredited. Yeah, look at this, gentlemen. See all that? That's why you don't want to put your preserver on your leather before you give it a good cleaning, because all of that stuff there just it seals in. And the more you do it, the more you're going to lose the color and that beautiful patina. There's nothing like having a piece of leather, a high-quality leather item that you've had for 30, 40 years. It just develops a uniqueness and a patina that you just can't buy, and you want to keep it clean. All right, we'll flip it over to the other side. Boy, we might be maybe we'll stream. Well, we might have to stream tomorrow. It's going to take me a week to get through my leather care, winter leather care. Arcadian Green says, I've passed the litmus test. Well, I'm glad to hear that. I'd like to know what the litmus test was and what gives you the authority to test me. I'll be interested to hear that. I think I answered to the Almighty. I didn't know I answered to another man that I don't know. But I'm glad to hear I passed the litmus test. What are my thoughts on Satan's little season? I'm not familiar with that term. Yes, you see how you can see the bend right there? That's right there where it bends around the small of your back. Was Jordan Peterson good in the beginning? Maybe. Maybe before he became a drug addict and a sellout and a fraud. No one that knows anything has taken Jordan Peterson serious for a long time. I would be quite shocked. I'd be quite surprised, and I'd have to question your intelligence if at this date and time, after everything has been exposed and laid bare, that you're still a supporter of that man. I'd have to question. I have not purchased any Snap-on tools lately. There's just nothing there's nothing I need, really. I mean, I have wants, of course. I could go through the catalog and find 100 things that I'd like, but is there anything I really need? I don't. BB bought Peterson. Yeah, it's possible. I've heard that. That's been bandied about. There's a lot of speculation about that. I don't know. You know, we need to focus on the genuine, gentlemen. Focus on the genuine. Focus on the genuine, not on all of the usurpers and the pretenders and the charlatans and the frauds. Don't put your faith in any man, especially me. Goodness, we're all in this together. What Bible are we using daily? I like, just from nostalgia, and I like the poetry of the King James Version, but it's a bit unapproachable for some of the younger men and the newer men that are not familiar with the language. And let that not be a barrier to anyone. It's not necessary. The best thing you can do when it comes to Bible verses is to use as many as possible. We're very fortunate to have access to so many great translations, and their safety in numbers. So I like to have a library of a dozen or better different interpretations, whether it's the New King James Version or the King James or the New American Standard, or even there are some that are not necessarily translations, but interpretations, like the Message, that are written. I would never take the Message, I would never take the NIV as a primary study Bible. But if you're struggling with a particular passage and you can't make heads or tails of it, sometimes the best thing you can do is to take out multiple copies and to read all of the different translations or interpretations to get a fuller or richer picture. Now, why is that necessary? Well, our English language is somewhat poor compared to some of the ancient languages. For example, in the ancient Greek, the Greeks have three different words for love. There is the love for maybe one's country, there is the love for one's firstborn son, and then there's the highest form of love, the love for one's God. And you would never interchange, oh, I love my new Jordans. You would never use that same term for, I love my wife, or I love my God. It wouldn't make any sense. That would be ludicrous. But how do you interpret that? How do you get that across when you're translating from Greek into English? Well, you don't. We have one word for love. We can love chocolate and we can love God, but they're two different things, aren't they? But they use the same word. So that's the problem you can get into with the translators. There's nothing they can do about it. If a language has fewer words and is not as descriptive, then what are you supposed to do? So that's why it's helpful, and you do not need you don't need to learn to read Greek and Hebrew to get the gospel, to get the gist of it, and that's not necessary. If you want to do that and you want to have that rich experience, you can, but it's not necessary. I know there are more important things to do for most of us. So what I would say, there's a particular stubborn spot right there. It's got like a sweat stain on it. Let's see if we can get that out. The best thing to do is to have a good library with many different translations, and to be able to freely go back and forth and teach from them. You should be able to, as a man of the book, you should be able to freely teach from any of the mainline conservative translations. No problem. Be suspicious, gentlemen, of any man who says that they are a holy man of God or a teacher of the gospel who will only teach from one book. I reject that. It's not true. Whether it be, there are many out there, some well-intentioned old saints that will say, well, if it's not the King James, then it's not God's true word. Well, I can go through the King James and show you many places where they don't translate the same word twice. So, I mean, there's no perfect translation, but that doesn't change the essence of it. And it doesn't, everything that you need to know God and to learn of the gospel is contained in the 66 books. And you should be able to freely go through any of them and receive benefit. But be leery of the man who only teaches from one book. For example, our Jehovah's Witness friends. They are not like us. They are not Christians. They do not believe in the divinity of Christ. And so that poses a huge problem for them when they get into the major translations of the Bible. I love to have a Jehovah's Witness come to my house because I will go directly to the first chapter of John. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. The same was in the beginning. Right there, the first chapter of John lays out the fact that God and Christ, the Word, are the same, that He is divine. He is not just a good man or a prophet. It completely blows out of the water their entire philosophy, or their theology. That's why they cannot teach from any of the translations that we Protestants get to enjoy. They have to teach from their own private Bible, which is what? Which has been written and changed according to their understanding of Scripture. So they can't find truth in the direct translations, and so they had to write their own. Now, I'm not coming here to throw shade on the Jehovah's Witnesses or the Mormons or any one of those heretical organizations. There are a lot of good, devout people in them, the Catholics, whatever. It's the system that I have a problem with. It's the system. I'm not, if you're a Jehovah's Witness, I'm not here to offend you. And we're all on different levels of understanding. And God has his people everywhere. I'm not Unitarian. I'm not saying that there are many paths to God. There are not many paths to God. There is one path to God through Jesus Christ. But let's not think that God doesn't have his people in various places with various levels of understanding, and let's be charitable. I think that looks pretty good. I don't know if we're going to rub the color off that belt. I'm going to spend more time on this one because this one here is my main. Scouting saying, Cody, did Bear give you the TS 2009? I don't know what that is. Is that a medical kit? I haven't, I don't know what that is. I can't speak to it. Oh, this looks good, gentlemen. Clean. We're getting no residual on there. Mormonism is hard to come out of. Yeah, I know. I'm very familiar with Mormonism. I've read their books. I've read the Book of Mormon. I've read the Pearl of Great Price. I have had. I'm very knowledgeable about the Mormon Church. They don't like to be called Mormons. You know, Mormons. You know why the Mormons went to Utah? They didn't go to Utah because they wanted to. They went to Utah because polite society chased them away for their heresy and their polygamy and their false teachings. So it wasn't as if they were going out into the wilderness on their own. They were chased out there. They don't like to be reminded of that. They also don't like to be reminded of the fact of Joseph Smith, their religious leader, died in a gunfight in prison or something. I don't remember all the details, but they've rebranded and they've changed their name to the Church of Latter-day Saints. You know, they have a very convenient system in that they have what they call the living prophet. Now, the living prophet is the guy that makes the proclamations that would be like the vicar of God, that brings down the oracles of God to the layman, to the church, for any doctrinal issues or questions that arise in the day-to-day operations of the church. And the awesome thing about that for the Mormons is that the divine revelation of the living prophet will supersede anything of a dead prophet, meaning that if the dead prophet said, for example, it is wrong and a sin for us to partake in caffeine, as has been the case with the Mormon Church for a long time. Well, that's a problem when you buy a major cola company. So how convenient was it when they purchased a major cola company that the living prophet had a divine revelation? Well, actually, we're going to be okay with that caffeine thing now. You see, that's just the opposite. The one thing that differentiates true religion and true God's the study of God's true word is that we have prophecy. Prophecy that was written down thousands and thousands of years ago that is coming true today, that can be proven. It's unchangeable. We don't have the convenience of when things don't work out for us, and now we want to have trans kids, and now we want to be sodomites, and now we want to have gay weddings or whatever, that the living prophet can come and say, well, we're going to change what was prophesied in the old days. How nice, how convenient would that be? That's a true sign of a man-made religion, is it not? So, again, no shade on our Mormon friends. I don't have issues with the Mormon people. There are a lot of devout, good people in the Mormon church. It's the system that we take issue with. You're a direct descendant of the man who snuck a gun into Joseph Smith and the jail before Smith died. That's interesting. K-Mag says, Cody, speaking of the Vicar of God, how do you view the papacy? Well, as a Protestant, I think it's pretty very public how we feel about that. We are at odds. We are in complete disagreement. The big issue with, first off, I don't even have time to go into it. I mean, this is a long-running beef between the Protestantism and Catholicism. But really, I mean, the big issue is that with the Catholic Church is the putting an intermediary between the pilgrim and God. You don't have direct access as a Catholic to Christ, to the Holy Spirit, like the Scripture teaches. They put a sinful man in between you. You are to confess your sins to a sinful man. And he is, according to the Catholic Church, he is to take those sins, and he can, even has the power for absolution and to forgive sins. A Catholic priest, a sinful man, it's heresy. And it's the true Protestantism and Catholicism will never, ever be able to coexist. We are at complete odds. So, I mean, this is not the time to go into the differences between the Catholic Church and the Protestants. I mean, we're not solving that here today, I tell you that. But that's a big issue. That's a big issue. All right, shall we let's do our obenos. This is the best part. Obenos is best used when warm and best applied by the hand. It's neat stuff. You can use this as, if you get in a pinch, you can use this as lip balm if you get chapped lips. Made from lanolin and beeswax. I think lanolin, it's a secret recipe. It's made in Idaho. It's the best stuff. It is the best stuff. You apply it by hand. Just it's a paste, but just the warmth of your hand will turn it to a liquid. Very delightful stuff. Yeah, I know it's very in vogue whenever the Catholics come up. We love to talk about the pedophile priests. But there's a group of people in this country that the numbers of touching and messing and sexually assaulting children is far higher than Catholic priests. Anyone want to venture a guess on what that group would be? What group? You know them. What group would that be that has a much higher record of abusing children and minors than Catholic priests do? Go ahead, put your guess out there. You might even have one in your family. There it is, school teachers. School teachers. And you know a good portion of them are women. The majority of them are. Very uncomfortable truth. You don't hear anyone talking about that, do you? We like to make the Catholic priests the public enemy number one when it comes to taking advantage of children, and yet white Western women are the most grievous offenders of all. But we can't talk about that. Can't talk about that. No, it's not politicians, it's school teachers. So next time you want to go after the Catholic priests, and they're not above reproach either. It's a bad system to force or require chastity of men. You're setting people up to fail. I'm not justifying it, not at all. I think they should be castrated at best, and pilloried and publicly humiliated, and thrown in jail. But it's setting guys up for a fall. The reason, do you know why priests are not allowed to? My goodness, look at how beautiful that is. That is such a rich, deep color. It takes all that. Did you notice that inconsistency is in the leather, where it's kind of darker on the edges and the stains and such? It just gives it a nice, even uniform. This belt in 20 years is going to be the most beautiful thing in the whole world. The reason why Catholic priests are not allowed to marry, it goes way, way back. It's because of money and the passing on of assets. If you are a Catholic priest and you have wealth, you've accumulated it over a lifetime, wealth, savings, properties, homes, livestock, whatever, where does that stuff go? Of course, it goes to your descendants, your children, your wife, for the upkeep of your family. If you don't have any family, if you don't have any children, if you don't have any descendants, where does all of your wealth, your lifetime of accumulating, where does that go? Who wants to guess where that goes when a priest gives up the ghost? Who is the benefactor of his lifetime of accumulating possessions and wealth? Yeah, it does. Yeah, James says, did it even take out the stress marks from the buckle? It literally does. You have to remember, so the leather, whether it be for your boots or your belt, it's skin. And when you remove the skin from the cow, there's nothing to put the fats and the oils back into it to keep it soft and supple. The reason why your work boots and your leather gets dry and it cracks is because you don't introduce the leather back into it, or the oils, the natural oils back into it. So if you do this regularly to your fine leather once a year or so, I mean, if you're in super dirty environments, if you're like a concrete guy, and your boots are constantly wet and dry, and in the, dirt, water, dust, that accelerates, it pulls all of the oils out of the leather. That's why it gets dry. So if you're in that extreme environment like that, or wildland firefighting, ash, walking in ash and soot really pulls the oils out of the leather. You have to do it much more often. Like on a fire, when I'm on there once a week, you have to reapply it. But if you are, you're talking about a dress belt like this, or something that you're not, out rolling in the mud in, once a year is enough. Enbu asked me, how come I go to church? How come I don't go to church? How do you know I don't go to church? And what is church? What's your idea of church? Tell me, what does God's word say about the church? Is it a large building with a raised pulpit and a choir and an organ and a man in a suit standing in an elevated position talking down to the people? Someone search the scriptures and find out where the definition of the modern Western church is in the Bible. I'll wait. Now, the church is, that's a slippery slope. The church is within. Yes, in a sense, you have access. If you were, for example, thrown into the deepest dungeon for your faith and you did not have access, you couldn't speak to anyone, you couldn't get together with fellow believers, you couldn't participate in the body, then yes, church absolutely could be within. But is that the ideal? There's a lot of, I hear this, there's a lot of dudes that I think are good dudes, that are God-fearing, but they just don't fit in. They don't want to be bothered with going to church because it can be a drag. I get it. Especially if you don't have anyone masculine in the church. If you have a bunch of beta simps that are, well, we know. Or it's full of women. What masculine, strong guy wants to go and deal with that? Not me. So I understand that. You hear them say it all the time. My church is the wilderness. My church is going into the mountains. My church is when I go up fishing. Well, that's not really the intent either. The ideal, if you want to really act according to the early church and use that as a template, is I'm not saying that you can't have a traditional Western church with the pulpits and the choir and all that stuff. I'm not saying that at all. But let's not get it twisted and say and sit here and say that that's the standard. That's, if we're not doing that we're doing something wrong. The ideal and the example given to us by the early church is small groups meeting together. When you are small groups meeting together in each other's homes, you are intimately aware of what it is that's going on with your friend, with the body. If you go to someone's house for a small house church and you see, oh, I didn't realize that you have a severely autistic child that you have to care for. I didn't realize that you are taking care of your ailing grandmother with Alzheimer's. You never hear these things. You never know the burdens. You never know what's going on with people's lives. Because when you go to these big churches, how many of you have done it? You show up, you put your best clothes on, you meet the greeters at the beginning. How are you doing, brother? Oh, we're doing great. Doing great. God is good. And what you don't know is he lost his job and his wife is dying of heart disease, or he's got big problems because he doesn't want to burden you with it. And you may know him for 20 years and never know his struggles. And therefore, when you don't know his struggles, then how do you help? So churches can be so big and so impersonal, and don't even get me started on the big mega churches, that you don't have any idea. You don't even know the body of Christ. You can go sit in the pews with 5,000 people and you don't know a soul there. Whereas if you meet together with 2 or 3, 4 or 5 families, 2 or 3 families in your community, your friends, and you're in their homes and you're sharing meals and you're having potlucks and they're in your house and you're in their life, that's what the body of Christ, that's really the ideal. That's where you can actually do some good. Well, this is looking quite nice, gentlemen. Would you like to see? Gorgeous. Look at that. Very nice. Well, why should we stop there? Yes, exactly. Lost Creek. Wherever Scripture says, wherever 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, that I am there in the midst of you. What that states is a church can be 2 people, 2 believers. You can be working in a godless industry, in construction, on big commercial job sites, and you can find a fellow brother in Christ. That can be church. That can be the body. The Scripture says, whenever 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, means I am there also. I support this. I endorse it. I will be there. I will respect that as a church. I will respect that as the body. It's pretty amazing. Yes, Skinny, this is an Iron Heart belt. My brown one. Should we do the black one? This one, we're going to buff this one out, and then we'll polish the brass. But let's hang this up by the wood stove. Be careful. Be careful drying your leather too close to the wood stove. I've seen a pair of boots get too hot and crack and get destroyed. So you don't want it to be hot. If it's hot to the touch, it's too close. So you just want it close. When you put the Obenaufs, it really activates, the heat really activates it well. It's mostly already deeply nourishing the leather just from the heat of your hands. That's why I like to apply it with hands. But if you want to go next level, just hang it up close to the stove. All right, I'll let you guys drive the ship. What do you want to see next? We'll do one more thing here. What time is it? Do I have time? 5 o'clock. We'll go to about 5:30. We got shoes. We got boots. We got more belts. We got knife sheaths. What do you want to see? What do you want to do? You want to do? I think we should do these Oxfords. Oh, here we go. This is a shoe that. There's some quintessential items that you should have as a man, or some variation of it. And one is an Oxford, like this. You just can't get a more versatile shoe than this. We have a super chat from Colors 101. Shout out to you. Thank you very much. He says, I'm curious, when you start your videos calling the viewers beloved, where did this expression come from? It's biblical. It is a common, I guess, exaltation, is that the right word? Among fellow believers. Beloved, I come to you in peace. Beloved, it would start with beloved, the starting of a letter or an epistle. It is a term of endearment. It is referred to, it is how Christ would refer to his children. It is also how his children may refer to each other in, yeah, I don't know what else to say other than that. Boots. But I don't want to do the boots. I want to do the Oxfords. We could do the boots. I'm going to do the Oxford because it's not so, I feel a little bit confined here, and this is just a little bit smaller. So, and I want to wear these, and they're looking quite raggedy. Let's do this one. This one's not in very bad shape. It doesn't really even, maybe just a brief cleaning. Blundstone boots? I've never heard of that. I'm not familiar with that. Yes, this is an Oxford. This was built by Nick's in Spokane, Washington for me. This is a custom shoe. You have a pair of these made. They look so good with anything. You can wear these with a suit. They look extraordinary with jeans. I'm probably not going to wear them with the surf shorts or anything like that, but casual, they are spiffy. You will get compliments on them. They'll quickly become one of your most favorite shoes. They're very, very, very versatile. And if you are a short king, these will give you 2 inches. And that's not nothing. I stand 6'4", actually 1.5 inches. I'm 6'4". I get close to 6'6" with a stacked heel boot or shoe like this, which makes a big difference. So, I know height's not everything, but every little bit helps, right? If you wanted to put lifts in, you could get almost 3 inches. You might be able to make 6 foot. Now, is that dishonest? Let's say you're dating. Is that dishonest? Well, at the moment that she wipes off all of the makeup and the push-up bras and all of the things that they do, then we'll talk about our height. How about that? Chad says, hello, Cody. Thank you for sharing the gospel. You are replacing a lot of young men. Reaching. Goodness. The text is small. Reaching. Excuse me. Please keep it. Thank you. I appreciate that. 2 inches is fine. Lifts are a bit odd. Yeah. No, I understand. I don't wear lifts, but I'm just saying. There's nothing wrong with there's nothing wrong with doing the best you can with what you have. If you can make yourself a couple inches taller, then do it. There's nothing wrong with that. All right. If I'm going to do if I'm going to really get after it, I'm going to remove the laces, but these are not in need of that. So we'll do a quick wipe down. These have been, last time I wore these were in the mean streets of Portland. I can only imagine what is clinging to the leather. Black Bear brand? Never heard of Black Bear brand. The only bear that I know of is Bear Bows Archery, but Fred Bear started that company. He was quite a hunter. He's probably dead. He was an old man when I was a young boy. He's got to be dead by now. You got a pocketbook with that? What's a pocketbook? I guess I don't. I don't even know I'm not sure what a pocketbook is. What is a pocket? I should know that. No, Oxfords are, this is classic, gentlemen. Don't let anyone tell you wrong. A classic Oxford, this is not highbrow. This is not metrosexual. This is classic, man. This is where you'd want to be. This is where you want to start. You should have a good set of Oxfords. We have a super chat from Regenerative Orchards. Shout out to you. It sounds like you're doing good work. I like the sound of Regenerative Orchards. Winter is upon us, which means it's pruning season. Indeed. For our orchard time to sharpen the loppers, shears, and saws. Yep, that's true. Yeah, saddle soap is good. Big fan of saddle soap. I use that. If I was out, when I run out of this leather cleaner from Obanoff's, I would grab a saddle soap. Excellent product. Saddle soap is probably more realistic. That's something you're going to be, you could find this at Walmart. It's going to, any store is going to have that. You know, you're going to have to custom order this. Is it any better? Both are fine. Both are fine. But whatever it is, just make sure you clean it. Just something that doesn't leave a lot of residual before you put the protectant on. He's asking me if I have a purse. What's it to you if I have a purse? What have you? Are you the arbiter of all things masculine? Do I need to get your approval as to what I wear? Give me your number. I'll make sure before I leave the house, I'll take a snapshot of all of my fashion choices. I'll make sure that I get that over to you. I'll wait for your approval. And when you approve that I'm masculine enough to leave the house, then I will be a happy man. How about that? Goodness. If everyone were like that, can you imagine how dreadful and how boring and monochrome and miserable the world would be? You know, and it's not, you know, guys that get all bent out of shape about, oh, you know, making jokes about purses and, oh, you're wearing pink, or you're not living according to typical or, you know, my standard of masculinity. You know, they have no identity. They simply are like NPCs that are so afraid that what someone might think about what they wear or what they do, that they live in fear, paralyzed, worried about what other people that they don't even know think. They're not thinkers and true individuals. you should, as a man, you should be able to do what you like. I don't give a damn what somebody thinks I should wear. If I want to wear a purse, if it was practical to me and it suited my needs, and I could carry a holster or a gun or whatever my EDC that I needed, and that's what was required in the situation, I don't give a damn about your standards or what you think is masculine. We have a super chat from First Watch. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Very kind of you. Elmer says this looks more like a boot than an Oxford. Yeah, this is a hyper masculine Oxford. No, I mean Oxfords are this is an Oxford for a working man. You know, a guy who lives in the country and might actually be called upon to do some work while you're in your shoes. This is a heavy duty. This is a boot. Yeah, but it's dressy. You know, I mean they're varying levels. You know, I'm not, I've kind of switched from, of course, I have the full-on fire boots for wildland firefighting, and I worked construction my whole life, and I wore all those boots, but I don't have a need for that anymore. I don't need a full steel shank boot, safety toe. I don't need an 8-inch boot. Why? If I'm going to go out and work on fire or do something really heavy duty, yeah, I got those boots, I'll put them on, but you know, my day-to-day, I have a different role now. You know, I'm not working construction anymore. I'm essentially an entertainer. That's what I do. So, and I do my own projects, you know, so I mean this is the compromise. You know, so this is the type of boot that I'm going to wear now. I'm going to wear something more like this. I still want a classic traditional boot. I want a Vibram sole. I want all that capability, but I don't want something that's so heavy, and I don't want 8-inch. I don't need 8-inch halfway up the calf. This is ideal for me. So for most guys, something like this is good, and a boot like this is nice because you can work in it, or it looks good with jeans. You could wear it out. This is a very versatile shoe. Both of these are of the shoes that I like. These are my two favorites. If I'm gonna wear something brown, I'm going to wear these Knicks. These are both actually Knicks. And, you know, either one of these is fine. But sometimes this is just too much. A Vibram sole is a hard thing, especially if you're going to be going into people's homes and such because they track so much mud. You know, so I'm mostly going to wear this. You know, I'd wear this out where maybe I go into a restaurant or a city area. But if I'm going to go over to someone's house, you know, and most of our friends all live in the country, you know, I don't want to track a bunch of mud and stuff in there. I don't need anything that heavy. So something like this is more suitable. So, yeah, is it a boot? Yeah, it's probably more of a boot than an Oxford, but it's still an Oxford, for sure. Goodness, we have a super chat from Colors coming in. Again, thank you for your generosity. Colors says, I'm old school, and I still use a straight razor. That is something I have not done. I don't think I've ever done that. Not only because the cassettes are too expensive, but I like the close shave and the ritual. Now that we're talking old leather shoes and oiling them, I need an oil change too. Yeah. No, I that's something I would kind of like to get into. I haven't, but I certainly could. The guy that cuts my hair, speaking of which, I'm like 2 weeks overdue. He uses a straight razor, and we've had this discussion before. Yeah, I think that's cool. I think that is cool, and I imagine that the shave is very close, and those cartridges are very expensive, for sure. John says, if you are wearing Ironheart denim, you carry a man purse, even in pink, and no one can challenge your masculinity. You can carry the wife's purse along with it and still be manly. You're not wrong. Are you saying that Ironheart denim is masculine? Because that's not typically the response I get from the chat. How many times I get called gay in a day, I lost track. I lost track. Either gay or village people or whatever. Man, do you think I care? My mom always thought I looked handsome, and my wife thinks I look handsome, and I like it. I like it. So that's the only thing that matters to me. All right. Shall we put some Obenovs on here? Well, let's wipe this one down real quick. We'll get this one drying a bit. It's nice to let that dry just a bit before. These are pretty dirty before we put the good stuff on them. Long time is asking, how do you keep Ironheart shirts clean without undershirts? I guess I don't secrete mud. I don't know. I mean, I don't understand. Maybe I know. Some people, definitely some people have, I'm not saying they're dirtier than others, but some people are oilier than others or excrete more than others. One thing is eating clean whole foods. What I noticed when I switched to eating only whole foods, my diet is actually very simple. I only eat just a handful of things, but they're good quality. I don't have to wear deodorant. Because I don't stink like I did, like a person that would eat processed foods. When I was eating, crummy foods and processed foods a lot more, I definitely noticed that. So I noticed that just as a rule, I'm a much cleaner, less stinky person when I eat whole, clean foods. I just have not found that to be a problem. I brush my clothing. If I'm sweating in something, I'll typically try to dress according to the temperature. So wear lighter things where you're not. If you're sweating, you're probably overdressed. You got too many layers on. So try to dress so that you don't. And you're wearing linens and breathable cottons in the summertime. In the wintertime, it's so cold, at least where we live, where that's not really a problem. Also, take my clothing in the summertime. If I have been in it all day and I've been sweating a little bit, and I'll just hang it out. Don't necessarily wash it, but just hang it out. And there seems to be, seems to be something for clothing that spend the night outside, being kind of the wind blowing through it. It seems to solve some of those problems. But some of that could be, if you're really a stinky person, you have a lot of body odor problems, a lot of that could be your diet. And some people have a stronger scent. I had a friend growing up that had a very distinctive smell. It wasn't good, nor it wasn't bad. It was just his smell. And I remember, like, sometimes, I would put something on that was his, we would rock climb and do different things together. And it would be, it was kind of unsettling that it was such a strong smell. It wasn't fabric softener. It wasn't any sort of cosmetic or perfume or cologne. It was just his natural smell. So I don't know. I'm not a smelly person. I haven't had that problem before. Keep plastic off your body. Yeah, absolutely. Jacob T. Yeah, 100%. If I wear synthetics, I know this sounds crazy. I had a friend that told this to me, and I found this to be true. If I wear synthetics like polypropylene as a base layer, it weakens me. I'm not as strong as when I wear natural fibers. It actually feels like it zaps my life essence. And there is some science behind that too. Linen resonates at a higher frequency than the human body. It was known for thousands of years that patients in hospitals, when they were convalescing, when they were recovering, they did better. They recovered much quicker if they were put in linen, if they were resting with linen bedding. Not only that, but the old hospitals at the turn of the century actually had recovery areas on the roofs, and they would regularly, after surgeries or if patients were recovering from whatever, they had whole wings where they would wheel them out into the direct sunlight, and they would spend the day outside under a covered area, but outside getting fresh air, fresh breeze, and fresh sunlight in linen, wearing linen clothing. This was known. This is scientifically proven. Do you think that's done anymore? And the hospitals know this, doctors know this, the establishment knows it, but it's too expensive. Linen is very expensive. Mrs. W and I, we sleep on linen sheets because there's healing properties to it. It helps you to regenerate at night while you're sleeping. If you're sleeping on anything that's synthetic, like polyester, it has the opposite effect. It is pulling your life essence out of you. Cotton is a good compromise. Cotton resonates at the exact same frequency as the human body. It is kind of keeps you in a level of stasis, like neutrally buoyant. It's not adding anything, but it's not taking anything away like a synthetic would. If it's within your means, and it's not within everyone's means because it's expensive, but organic linen sheeting, bedding, is one of the best things you can do to invest in your health, as well as natural fibers, wool, linen, cotton, and leather. If it's not of those, then don't have it on your skin. What do you think is in the dyes, the industrial dyes in the polyester from the clothing you're wearing from Walmart? Do you think that any of that could be leaching into your skin? Do you think it could be messing with your endocrine system? Do you think it could be affecting hormones? I mean, you'd be foolish to think otherwise. We wonder why Western women are so crazy, why there's so many mental illness. How many of them are on birth control from the time they're 13? What do you think that's doing to them? What do you think 30 years of birth control does to a woman's hormones? I'm sure it has no effect whatsoever. If you mix linen sheets with wool blankets, it cancels out the effects of the linen. Yes. Fun fact, the Bible even speaks of this. The Old Testament teaches this, and science has corroborated it. That looks good. I think our other shoe is ready now. Oh goodness, this is going to be nice. This is going to turn out very good here. Oh, I would like to have a tilt rotor. You're not the first one to recommend that to me. What he's talking about, these are really popular in Europe. One of the most difficult things with excavators is getting the thing to sit flat, or even if you get it to sit flat, and let's say you want to pull a grade or cut a grade or a slope for drainage or something, you know, it's a lot of messing around. You have to, you know, get the tracks up, and you know, you're constantly trying to get the thing sitting at the right angle. There's a rotating head that you can put. It's a coupler, kind of a knuckle thing, so you can rotate the bucket and 360 degrees. Super awesome. They're really popular in Europe. You don't see them over here in the States too much, and I'm surprised that you don't. I don't know why. I know there's going to be a tremendous amount of maintenance with that. You know, that's not something I'd want to put on a rental machine. But if you know what you're doing and you take care of your equipment, I think that would be probably a wonderful upgrade. No, if I was doing it professionally, I'd consider it. But you know, I primarily use my skid steer. If I'm going to break out the mini hoe, it's primarily going to be for trenching. And so there are other things that are higher priority than that for me. But I'm not saying I wouldn't like one. They're super cool. What company should you buy for linen sheets? I don't know. That is Mrs. W's PAR. She runs the household and orders and takes care of all that sort of thing. Just Organic linen is going to be the very best. If you can't get organic, it's not as good, but it's still excellent. So just go look, read the reviews. We bought one pair. Our first pair that we bought. Look at this. This is looking beautiful. Look how dry that stacked heel is. Just drinking that stuff up. So good. The first linens that we bought, these are beautiful shoes. I think this is made of this leather here. This is Horoween. Who knows what Horoween is? I think I'm pronouncing that right. Horoween is leather cut from the rump of a horse. It's considered to be the most beautiful, and it's among the most expensive leather in the world. When you see those gorgeous English riding boots, I specifically requested this. I didn't know that Nick's worked, if they could get Horoween, if they'd worked with it. This is what the leather that you would see on those really beautiful English riding boots, or some of their tack and leather, the Horoween. And it's you'll see it on maybe some like military dress shoes. I believe some of them are made from, or riding boots are made from Horoween, from the rump of the horse. And it's it has the most, it takes the polish better than any other leather. It's very smooth and it's very comfortable. Boone is asking, Cody, are you going to do a gift guide for Christmas? Looking for good quality masculine ideas this season? Yeah, I could. Mrs. W asked me about that a while back. I think we could do that. That'd be kind of a fun live stream, wouldn't it? Boy, these are beautiful. See how dry that heel stack? Now, a good shoe or boot is going to have a stacked leather heel. Cheap shoes will look like they're stacked, but they're plastic, and they just make it, they put like, it's in the mold. It makes it look like it's a true stacked leather heel. Everything is a fake and a fraud unless you are intentional. But a proper shoe is made of stacked leather. Now, this shoe is also completely rebuildable. That's pretty dry there. We're going to pay some special attention to that. That will crack out. It's not the end of the world, because this is all of this, when it's time to rebuild these shoes, all of this will be pulled off and replaced. So it's not that you shouldn't take care of it, but really your bread and butter is the upper. That's something you can't, is not going to be replaced. So nice. These are beautiful shoes. Gorgeous. Very handsome. There's not one of you in the chat that wouldn't look like $1 million in a nice pair of Oxfords like this. They look exceedingly nice with jeans. They really dress up well. Yeah, that's true. The bad thing about quality things is the money. That is true, but when you do the math and you look at it long term, let's say you're going to spend $500-600 for a pair of custom boots like this, or Oxfords. All right, so how long are you going to have them? Well, you're going to have them the rest of your life. So how many, over the course of your life, how many pair of $100 cheap shoes, trendy shoes, are you going to have that you just throw away? Which one's going to be nicer to own? Which one are you going to take care of? What is this shoe going to say about the man who wears it versus the man that's wearing Payless shoes? Now, I know there's a time and place. Not everyone is in a position to buy them, but you know, it gets back to that poor mindset. When all you can see is the price, sometimes you miss the value. When you buy a shoe and you never have to buy shoes anymore because you bought something that's classic and not trendy, it's not going to be out of style in 6 years, but it looks just as good, if not better, in 20 years. Is that a foolish way to spend your money, or is that a wise way to spend your money? And what does it say about spending your money on a shoe that was built by an American craftsman compared to a Chinese child slave? I mean, do we have any moral obligation or responsibility to put our money towards a good cause if it's within our means? Or do we just be like the American way is, well, I can't see it from my house and it's not my problem that poor Yang Zi has been chained to a sewing machine since he was 8. I know it's not our responsibility to save the world, but also, I mean, it's also not nothing, is it? Goodness, is Payless shoes, is that even a thing anymore? That's one thing my mom always insisted and always provided for us was quality shoes. She was very particular about that. Owen Mulvey coming in. Goodness, thank you for that generosity. Owen coming in with a $50 super chat. My goodness, that is so true. Owen says demons want you to wear sweatpants. Man, it sounds ridiculous and funny, but talking about the problem, women, they're hormonal creatures. They got a lot of stuff going on. They're operating, their system is a little more complicated than us. And when you mix in 30, 40 years of birth control, that no one really knows what the ultimate effect of that will be. And also, what's the one thing you see almost all women wearing these days? The black polyester yoga pant made from plastic and oil, skin tight, all up in their business. Do you think that the chemicals in that synthetic product could possibly be contributing to problems with hormones? You'd have to be a fool not to. Yeah, I mean, like Owen says, the devil wants you to wear sweatpants. That sounds crazy and ludicrous, but when you start looking at it, it starts to make sense, doesn't it? Goodness, gentlemen, there's so much against us. Everything is against us. The environment is poisoning us. There's no longer nutrients in our food. The clothing, all of the household chemicals, everything is working to weaken you. You die and you lose faith and you lose your connection to your Heavenly Father by 1,000 cuts. It's not just the pornography, it's not just the drug addiction and the alcohol and the entertainment that keeps you separated from God. You're being attacked in avenues that you don't even understand, that are weakening you physically, and when you're weak physically, you're weak spiritually. So, we can't stop everything. We're not. No one can go live on an organic. Not everyone can go live on an organic farm and grow their own food. But you can be aware of some of these things, and you can make choices and stop some of this. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Matthew. Yeah, don't forget the magic dust falling from the sky. Aluminum, barium. This is no longer, contrails and this geoengineering is no longer debatable, and this is not a conspiracy theory anymore. This is fact. This is being done. All of this is falling on you, and the more rural of an area you live, the more you're subject to this. Yeah, yoga pants. That looks good. Man, that's a handsome shoe. It's a well-built shoe. Handmade. Wait till we put the polish on it. Well, that stack is really dry. Put a little more on there. Colors. Coming in. Colors is the hero of the day. What a generous man. Full these super chats. Multiple super chats. We really appreciate that. Colors says, why we Swiss call leggings deaf mutes pants. You can read it. Of their lips. There might be something lost in translation there, but I think I get the gist of it. Yep. You see, our European brothers, we have more in common than we have more in common than you know. There are a particular group of people that benefit, and actually they exist because they keep us fighting with each other. They keep our eyes off of the prize. They keep us so focused on these manufactured differences of opinion and differences of whatever, so that we can't see that they are stealing from us and abusing us and farming us for resources. But the world's starting to wake up, isn't it? Is it true that Filson is a tragedy of Western culture? I don't know if I'd go that far, but yeah, they've lost their way. There's only a handful of things, from what I understand, that they still produce in the States. A lot of their stuff has become trendy and manufactured overseas. It's not what it used to be. I don't. The only thing I buy from them is the tin pants. And this last time I checked, they're still made in Seattle. We know who they are. Yes, we do we not? We do. And let's not let the boomers off the hook. I know we like to focus on that tribe, and we like to focus on the immigrants and the Mexicans and everything, but really our true enemy are the boomers that refuse to relinquish power in our own government. Because they are willing, they have proven that they're the most selfish generation in the history of mankind, the American boomer. The entitlement, they are willing to sacrifice their children, their grandchildren, and our entire country and all of Western civilization to stay in power so that they can keep their entitlements. They don't make decisions for the future. They only make decisions to feather their own nests. There was a play I remember reading, I think this was like an old Greek play that was kind of speaking to this, the decadence of a falling but once great but failing civilization. And I can't remember it, and I'm reluctant to even share it with you because I will get it wrong. Maybe some of you have read it, but I can give you the gist of it. And there was There was a women that and a band of thieves or something that lived nearby, and these women. The gist of it was this: these women attacked this man that was supposed to be a thief or something, and they tore him to shreds. They tore his arms off and tore his head off, and utterly destroyed him. And then took the head. I wish I could remember this. I should go back and read it before I try to share it with you because it's been so long. But they took the head of the leader of these thieves. and to the city council and made a big spectacle. Look at us. Look at this head. She's holding this severed head up. Look at us. We have this. This was a lion of a man. He was so brave. He was a warrior, a great man. And look at how amazing I am, and we were able to vanquish him, to destroy him. We are better than he is. I'm missing the essence of this, but the point of it was that the head was her very own son. And that is a condemnation of empire. And that's ultimately where empire ends up, where there is a group that ultimately cannibalizes their very own and destroys their very own children, their future, their culture, to edify themselves or to make themselves feel better or virtuous. I absolutely destroyed the point of all of that, but I think you kind of get it. And that's the boomer. And the head that the boomer holds up and says, look what I've done. Look how virtuous and brave and amazing I am. Look what I've accomplished, is the head of the future, meaning that they've destroyed with her own hand that which would continue their legacy and continue their culture and their way of life. That's the boomer. And it wouldn't surprise me, the boomers hang on to power, and they hang on, they won't relinquish their wealth. They hold the majority of wealth in this country, and then they lord over the zoomers, and they lord over the millennials. It wouldn't surprise me in our lifetime if we get to a point where these younger generations that are left with nothing because the boomers have hoarded and kept everything and stolen and devoured their future and their wealth and their legacy, that there won't be a time where the younger generations physically come and take what they want, take their properties, take their wealth, and the boomers won't be able to do anything about it. Now, will the rule of law break down to that point? I can tell you this, it's simmering. And the hatred and disconnect, the hatred for the boomers and the disconnect, especially the hatred from the Zoomers and Gen Alpha that's coming up, when they finally, it will reach a boiling point and they will come and take what they think is theirs. And there's nothing the boomers can do about it. The boomers are supernaturally being kept alive through the miracles of Western medicine. And they will not relinquish power. Look at these old fossils in the Senate who are falling down, losing their minds, and they will not relinquish power. They are a selfish, greedy, the worst generation of ever. All right, that's looking nice. I think we probably let's put some shine on that belt. That should be nice and dry now. We'll probably finish up with that, gentlemen. I'll let these boots sit over, these Oxfords sit overnight, and soak that in, and then we can continue this tomorrow. It's about my supper time. Where's that belt? Now, Obenauf's is not, it doesn't polish as well as like a shoe polish, but I like the way it looks. I think it looks more natural, not too shiny. 2 more decades of boomers. That's true. We have 20 years left of boomers in power. And they will do much damage. Now, whether or not they're allowed to continue to wreck and sell us all remains to be seen. Two more decades. It's hard to believe, isn't it? Horsehair brush is the way. But you want to make sure it's dry. Beautiful. Nothing like Japanese veg tan leather. I'll have to go. I got to go reread, find that play. I forget. That was a long time ago. I forget all about that. But that just came to mind. That is a powerful condemnation, and we find ourselves in the exact same position. The Battle Chemist is coming in with a super chat. Jeff says, I'm sad to report that the Filsa website now lists the double front tin pants as imported. Well, that's the last straw for me. I don't care. I mean, I'm not emotionally invested in it. I had already kind of checked out of Filson a long time ago for that reason. But if that's the case, then that's the last. I won't have I won't buy anything from them anymore. I'm not interested in. I can get so much better from Ironheart, and I like the Filson double tin pant, but not enough to. The charm of it was the fact that it was made the same way for 200 years in Seattle, and now it's gone. C'est la vie. They'd left the the working man clothes a long time ago and chased after hipsters in the city and went trendy. So I checked out from them quite a while ago. I was actually going to buy a pair. I've got 2 pair of tin pants. Both of them are super ragged. But if they're overseas now, then I won't buy anymore. Ironheart 21 ounce double front denim will be the new tin pant. That looks pretty nice. Pretty nice. Goodness. What a nice leather belt. Solid brass. You know why? I think most of you know why the military always used brass buckles. Why they use brass hardware on their uniforms. I know we got some smarties out there. Who knows? This is something that should be in your collection. Cape Cod metal polishing cloths. This is the best metal polish and one of the best scents I've ever smelled. It smells like strawberries. Yeah, Pendleton blankets are still good. The Pendleton wool still comes from Oregon. This is a great brass polish here. This is the brand here, if you're looking it up. Focus. Cape Cod. Man. This is really good for polishing jewelry, stainless steel. Good for if you have a nice watch, it's great for polishing watches. Look at that. Goodness. So good. It's amazing. you can put, we'll be able to see our reflection in this after just a little bit of work. Look at that. What is all that black stuff? Edward says, what's my opinion on young men just starting in apprenticeships? Bricklaying, concrete. Do you think it's worth it? Yeah, I think it's worth it. If your plan is to be an artisan and to do, ultimately you have to learn it. Of course, you got to put your time in, and it's an inglorious apprenticeship. Many of those things, concrete, masonry. If you want to get into masonry, you're going to have to carry hod for many years, which is hard work. It will take a toll on your body, but there's something pretty special about being a master stonemason or a really a good bricklayer. That's a pretty incredible skill to have, especially if you're doing high-end work and not just doing production stuff. But also know that there's very few people that value that. Your clientele is going to be small. General building contractors and such are not going to want to pay a master craftsman or a stonemason. They're going to put up some sort of a cheap veneer. So know that. What's it going to do to your body? Can you pay that price? I understand it. I talk a lot about the electrical trades because it's a good job. You work inside. You're going to be around a high quality group of people, but it's not going to be something where you can express your creativity. If you are more analytical and have an engineer's mind, I know a lot of guys that really enjoy electrical work. If you like to really kind of geek out on that stuff, and you like math, and you like numbers, and you like order and neatness and such, you can find a lot of satisfaction in that. But if you're a creative, then you're going to be very miserable there because there's no room for creativity. There are a lot of rules, and you have to do it this way, not that way. You're not going to go there and be original or do something that's unique. It's not the job for an artist. So you have to look at your temperament. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Not everyone is creative, and I'm not saying that that's the gold standard. It's just that we're different. If you are a person that is drawn to more creative outlets, you're a musician, you like to create music, you like to draw, you like, you know your temperament. Then something like stone masonry, brick masonry, where you can really do extraordinary things, where you can do things that are truly unique, then you're going to be happy doing that. So you have to, really be honest in your work. You're going to be doing it for a long time, and it's more than, if you can make your living, apply your trade in a way that satisfies you intellectually, in your creativity and your intellect, then that's a good fit for you. It's quite a blessing to be able to make your living in a trade that you can express the things or practice the things that you enjoy. So I guess it just depends on your temperament. I'm a creative person. I've always been drawn to photography and videography and light and even, aesthetics and clothing and style and design and architecture. I like these things. They're important to me. I'm pretty miserable in an environment like a factory where it's just following orders and not able to have any say in that sort of thing. And so it doesn't surprise me that I find my way into a way I can, I put food on the table by being a storyteller or working with light and photography and telling stories through video, because I enjoy it. That's why I'm able to do it for 15 years, is because it suits my temperament. Whereas if I had went to journeyman school and become an electrician and worked as a journeyman, yeah, I could have made a good living and provided for my family, but about this time I'd be probably pretty burnt out. So I guess it depends. You got to know thyself, I guess, is the question you need to ask. Does that make sense? Elmer says, I'm at the point where I need to decide what to do with the rest of my life. And also remember, no, you not really. I mean, we think that. You think, well, I can only be one thing, and I have to make a decision, and I'm stressed out because what if I make the wrong decision? No, you don't. You can go try things. I don't care if you're 50, if you're 60. You can go learn something, put your hand to it for 18 months, 12 months, 2 years. You're not stuck there. That's not who you are. It's not your identity. If you don't like it, if it doesn't suit you, then do something different. How many jobs have I had? You know, I never could keep a job, not because I couldn't keep it. I didn't want to keep it because I found I got bored. Doing YouTube is the only, I mean, I've been doing this for almost 17 years. There's nothing that I've done so long that I still enjoy, and I still enjoy it. Like sitting here and sharing stories and doing this with you guys on the live stream and making the videos on the woodshed. I truly enjoy it. I still enjoy it. I get up and I look forward to it. This has really turned out nice. When I haven't worked on it for a few days because it's been raining, but when I'm waking up and I'm thinking about what I'm going to do, and I know that I get to go and build on that and then make another video on it, it makes me happy. Oh, the wood stove. Yeah, the wood stove. Is it going out? I can throw another piece in. Mama Kitty will appreciate that, keeping it going all night. Actually, I put her box here by the wood stove, and I gave her a heater. I have an electric heater that pointed directly at her, that keeps her warm. She's getting so old and skinny. Wait till you guys see this brass. Goodness, this is beautiful. You only have to do this once a year, so I don't mind doing it. I mean, what else are you going to do? I'd rather sit here polishing brass and leather and watching some stupid movie. There are some good movies, though. Mrs. W. and I watched, I've seen it before, but I forgot how good it was. We watched Ford versus Ferrari. That's a pretty good movie. We watched that last night. I really enjoyed that. We hadn't watched it. I'll bet we haven't watched a movie together for a year. And that came across my feed, and I thought, that might be fun. We'll watch that. And it was really good. We have a super chat from Damien Reisner. Shout out to you, Damien. Thank you for your generosity coming in. Damien says, what's your thoughts on all these data centers that are being built? Ohio is the hotspot due to its location. 15-year tax abatement. Yeah. You know, I don't know what's going on with all of those, but we have a lot of those in our area. Wait till you see this brass. My goodness, it's better than I could imagine. We have data centers all over where we live here springing up. Google is here. They built a massive one about an hour east of here, primarily because we have cheap power and an abundance of water for cooling. And they're all super secret. I've tried to get some information. Hey, what's going on in there? You know, you drive by them and they're all super secret. Security. I have like my UPS driver. I was asking him about it because he delivered down there for a while, and I asked, "What's in there? Have you seen inside?" He's like, "Bro, they are locked down. Like we can't even take packages in there. We have no idea what's in there. It's all super super high security, and we have no idea. Even the guys that, I knew a guy that actually worked on it or helped build it. He was compartmentalized. He didn't know a thing. So I have no idea, man, what it is. When you look at how small you take like a processor for computers, and there's some videos I've seen where they zoom in and zoom in and zoom in, to the very center of the core of it, and they compare it with what's inside, like or compare it to a human hair. It's unbelievable that could be manufactured. And I've always thought that the devil is in the computer, which is kind of funny. But it wouldn't surprise me, man, if that is some demonically inspired technology that is not from this world, to be able to produce those machines that are so microscopic. I don't even know how it's possible. I mean, I'm sure we can all explain it away, and Taiwan and computers and tech and such, but I mean, if you look at it logically and you really see how intricate and small it is, I mean, what's the pinnacle of achievement for man for so long? It was, I marvel sometimes at watchmaking. Those little tiny screws and putting all that together, and the little springs, and I watch some watchmakers on YouTube, and it's extraordinary how they can build that and have it all work together and keep time. It's phenomenal. And guy can work his entire life, an apprentice, to learn how to do that, and it's extraordinary. And that pales in comparison to what's inside just a CPU and on the scale of it. So it is very mysterious, and it wouldn't surprise me if it was out of this world technology. I don't know, man. I don't know what makes the confuser go. It's all an incredible mystery to me. Goodness. We have a super chat from Kamag Yo-Yo 751. Christ is King. Amen to that. It's very encouraging to be in the presence of our brothers in Christ, gentlemen. There's going to be decisions that will have to be made, no matter, regardless of how you think and what you think of theology and what you think of religion. I'm with you, man. I don't like it either. Man-made religion is of no value whatsoever, and has actually caused more aggravation and heartache and destruction than anything else in the world. But don't confuse that with Christ, with true religion, because true Christianity does not partake in those things, and is the only path back to home. Have you ever felt like you live in a world where you don't belong? Even when I was younger, I always felt like I was an oddball, like I was living in occupied territory, that this was not my home. Even around family members, I always felt it. And it wasn't until I got older and realized, yeah, we are in enemy-occupied territory. We were not designed to live apart from our Father. We have been separated from him because he's righteous, and we can't sin, and light and dark can't coexist. But he's built a bridge back home. And whosoever will get on that bridge and accept salvation through Jesus Christ, it's a bridge back home. And we will only be on this enemy-occupied territory for a short time. But if we remain faithful, we have a roadmap back home. And we won't have to suffer loss of our parents, see our children suffer, have the constant impending doom of old age, disease, sickness, and death hanging over our heads. All that will be gone. Every tear will be wiped away. So we just need to be faithful and remember, in the great scheme of things, in compared to eternity, God is asking a very small thing of us, to be faithful for 40, 50 years. And he doesn't ask us to do it alone either. Wow. Look at this, gentleman. Thank you for that. That was very generous of you. You want to see how pretty? Is that going to focus? I'm going to zoom in here. We have Nothing but the best production here. It's not much of a zoom. Isn't that nice? That, you see, people would look at this belt, you know, they'd be on the website and they would look at this and say, $140 or whatever it is, you're crazy. I would never pay that for that. That's what they all say. I would never pay that for that. I'd never pay $140 for this belt. They'll go to Target and they'll buy something that's fake leather that after 3 or 4 months will start to separate and will be in the trash in 18 months, and they'll go and do it again. Spend $40 on it. Or you can buy something made by Craftsman. You know, this is all solid brass, bridal leather, vegetable tan leather, that you will never buy another belt again. And tell me, will this leather ever be out, or will this belt ever be out of style? Is it trendy? Or is it classic? Is it something that you take pride in, that you enjoy owning? What's the dopamine rush? What's the joy that you experience when you get to wear nice clothing like this? Not for boasting or bragging, but just appreciating craftsmanship and quality. Do you understand? It's more than just a price on a website. There's so much more to it. Do you understand? I understand. My next belt's going to be a medium. All right, gentlemen, I'm going to wrap it up here. I actually thought we would get through all this stuff. What did we accomplish? Smeared some oil on 2 shoes and polished 1 belt. But that's okay. Mrs. W's in the chat. Candid, I'll finish these last comments here, and then I'm going to head in. I think it's past about supper time. Leather belts and shoes make men look like men instead of tall toddlers. That's very true. I couldn't have said it better myself. Blue Jay says, I bought the Forest Service belt you recommended, Etsy, a few months ago. Yeah, I've got 2 of those. I really like those 2. I wear those all the time. Those are really good. What's the website to buy one? I need a high-quality belt. Well, I'll give you best and I'll give you better. You can get a good belt from any of the Pacific Northwest boot manufacturers. For example, Nick's or White's. I think JK's got belts. I think they all manufacture belts that are decent. I would call those in the good category. But they're not next level like this one is here. They don't have the buckle will be brass, but not super heavy brass like this. What's so beautiful about these is just the quality of the hardware. This is heavy. You rarely come across anything with brass that's solid and thick like this and has mass. Like this is a heavy, heavy piece of brass. Very expensive to produce this. This is the pinnacle of quality right here. So those leather belts are good. I've had, I had a couple of them. I gave them away to friends that are wearing them and enjoy them. But if you want the best, then go with these. The Japanese tanned belts by Ironheart are the best ones that I've seen. So just go to ironheart.com, and they're probably going to be in the, I don't know what they cost, $140 range or so. But I have 2 of them. I have this one. There's 2 different styles of buckles. Here, we'll finish with this just for your information. So this is this style here. is the pass-through style here. I guess you'd have, so you have two separate pieces. So when you're using it, you know, we're all familiar with this. The tail of it stores or covers right here. So if you're someone that moves up and down weight a little bit, and you gain weight and lose weight, and you're kind of living all over your belt, this is a better style because it gives you a little bit more flexibility with the keeping of the tail. You have a little bit more option there. Where this style here, this is called the garrison style. So this is more of a military look. Those of you guys who are in the military are probably kind of see the resemblance. This is a garrison buckle. And the garrison buckle now has, it keeps the tail, but you see here, if this gets long, then it's less controlled. It's going to flop there more and a little bit, not kept quite as neat. So if you are, it also comes down to the aesthetic, what you like, what style suits you. If you like that military look of the brass style here, then go with the garrison. I think I prefer, after having both, I prefer this one. So it's a personal choice, but they look very different. This one is more of a statement piece. This one will draw a lot of attention. So if you're gonna tuck in your shirt and you want a really neat, clean, tidy look, the garrison buckle is pretty spiffy. I think it's more dressy, where for just general utility and a day-to-day wear, I tend to go with this one. But it's personal choice. There's no right or wrong. It's whatever you like. Both of them are quite nice. They're both very nice. It's not supper time? Did Mrs. W say it's not supper time? I don't know. I streamed. I'm running out of steam, man. I streamed this morning for a couple hours. Streaming is it's hard to do. I mean, let's not say it's hard to do. That sounds ridiculous. It's hard to go nail drywall all day. That's what's hard to do. But streaming is hard. It's mentally exhausting. Having to share your personality, tell stories, be engaged, and entertain. It's difficult as well. It makes me very tired. So I streamed several hours this morning, and we've streamed quite a bit tonight, and I'm getting fatigued. I'm getting tired. So I'm just about done. Bison. Hank's belts out of New York make a good bison leather belt. Bison is a good material. When we were at JK's, they tried to convince me when I had my boots built to use bison. They loved bison there because bison is very tough and it's very comfortable. It's stretchy. It was their favorite leather, and I looked at them, and it had a very distinct look that it had a lot of texture to it that it was so unusual that it didn't resonate with me, and it wasn't that I did not choose it not necessarily because of the quality. I chose it because it was just odd, and I couldn't get with it. But it's a great leather from what I understand. Milt Sparks. I forgot Milt Sparks is also. I have a Milt Sparks holster that is 25 years old. My Versamax 2, my inside the waistband holster, which is probably the best. Those are handmade in Idaho by Milt Sparks. Is top of the line. I have not seen their belts. I'd have to take a look next time we do a live stream, gentlemen. Remind me. I don't have my keyboard and stuff here. We'll go over to the site and take a look at them. It's probably not going to be like super fashion forward. It's going to probably be a little bit more country style, old style. Milt Sparks is pretty conservative type of designer, but it's going to be of the best quality. So that might be a good option too. Yeah, I forgot about Milt Sparks. Cameron says, Cody, what would your next attachment be for the skid steer? Like if something that I don't have. I would like to have a masticator, like a brush hog, a brusher. I would like that. I don't know. I don't really have any. I don't have a whole lot to use it around here. It would be a luxury, but that would be a great tool to have for. That'd be probably more something that you would take and go do a buddy's land, or it would be really good for doing fire line through the brush. But I'd like to have one of those. That'd be kind of cool. Dinner is ready. All right, that's it for me, gentlemen. I'm out. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for all of the generous super chats. Goodness, we had a lot of. Well, I just appreciate that. Thank you. May God bless all of you. Please keep us in your prayers. Oh, coming in under the wire. The Necro Dancer. That's a pretty funny name. The Necro Dancer. Dancing is great exercise. The gym is a scam. Just dance as God intended. Well, you could make the argument for that. When King David came in victorious after a great military victory over the Philistines, Scripture says that he danced and leapt and rejoiced before the Lord. He made a spectacle of himself. He was so ecstatic that he couldn't contain himself. He was the king of Israel, and he didn't feel it demeaning or sinful or shameful to dance unabashedly before all of Israel in a victory parade. He was so over the top with it that his wife, well, she got butthurt. And when he got home and she says to him, "Oh, how grand were you, the king, making a spectacle of yourself in front of all of the young maids." She was salty and jealous about it. And he rebuked her and said, "I'm not dancing for them. I'm dancing for my God." So the Necro Dancer is on solid ground. And that's probably very good advice. It's probably very good advice. May God bless all of you. Thank you for your generosity and thank you for your time. And Lord willing, we will see you tomorrow. If you're a member, we will definitely see you tomorrow's stream, which will probably start a little bit early, probably around 8, between 8 and 9. I'll let you know. And then we'll be digging deep into the book of James. If you would like to participate, if you'd like to join the War Band and have access to, we are on stream, live stream, member stream 168 tomorrow. We get deep into the Word, and we have a very good group of guys there. I don't keep it behind a paywall of $5 a month for greed. I keep it behind the paywall because if I don't, we have people that would come in and try to interrupt or destroy what we have going on there. And that simple paywall of $5 a month gives us insulation from all of the harassing and the trolling, and we don't have any of that there. So that's why we do it. So if you'd like to be part of that and have access to that immediately, then become a member. And we will see you. Come and join the War Band tomorrow. Yes. When you see the good men here in the chat with blue names and wrenches, when you see the men with green numbers and avatars and the special emojis to the right, these are all members of the War Band that you will meet if you want to come there and join it. So our content is always free. The only thing that I keep behind the paywall is the morning live streams and occasionally things, occasional things, but that's why we do it. That's the purpose of it. Good evening, gentlemen.